Be interested in a female fencer stands up for fairness in women's sports. She did it by taking a knee and refusing to compete against a biological male at a tournament over the weekend. The referee's response, a black card, the sport's most severe penalty, which means expulsion from the tournament.
At a regional fencing tournament held at the University of Maryland, Stephanie Turner made a decision that would ignite debate far beyond the world of sports. She refused to compete against an opponent she identified as a biological male, citing fairness in women's athletics. Her refusal earned her fencing's harshest penalty, a black card, effectively expelling her from the tournament. Turner had trained and invested years into her sport. This particular tournament was part of her routine, marking her 10th consecutive appearance. But when she saw the name Redmond Sullivan on the registration list, she recognized it from a previous article. Sullivan had competed on the men's fencing team at Wagner College before transitioning and now registered to compete in the women's division. Turner says she was devastated. She had already committed time, training, and money, but believed she was left with no real choice. When it came time to compete, Turner took a knee instead. When the referee asked if she was refusing to fence, she said yes, on principle. She told the official plainly, "This is a women's tournament," and she was unwilling to compete against someone she views as having an unfair physical advantage due to their biological sex. She repeated this to her opponent directly, clarifying that her refusal was not personal, but rooted in her belief in fairness for female athletes. The reaction from officials was swift and definitive. Turner was given a black card, signaling not just disqualification, but a formal mark of misconduct within the sport. She says she knew this would happen, but felt compelled to act regardless. Her opponent, according to Turner, responded calmly and mentioned that a board member present supported the inclusion under USA Fencing's transgender and non-binary policy, enacted in 2023. The policy was designed to foster inclusivity and create safe spaces within the sport. But Turner questions where that inclusivity leaves women like her. In her view, the policy has created an imbalance. She argues that women have no choice in these matchups, while transgender athletes have the option to compete in co-ed events or at other levels. What was once a protected category for women is, according to Turner, becoming an open competition, devaluing years of progress for female athletes and blurring the lines of fair play. Her stance has drawn support from prominent voices. Former tennis star Martina Navratilova publicly backed her, calling out the broader trend of female athletes being penalized for defending their category. Navratilova referenced other incidents, like the high school girls in Oregon who lost a race by 7 seconds to a transgender athlete, or the girls in Maine whose standings were affected in a pole vaulting competition. In each case, she argues, it is female athletes paying the price. Turner's story isn't isolated. She says this has been a pattern for her. At the 2023 Summer Nationals, she opted out entirely after identifying another transgender athlete in the lineup. But as transgender participation grows and inclusion policies expand, she wonders how long she can keep avoiding competition. Her options, she says, are narrowing. Either compete against those she believes have a physical edge, or stop competing altogether. The controversy cuts to the core of an ongoing debate in American sports: how to balance inclusion with fairness. Title IX, passed in 1972, was designed to ensure women had equal opportunities in education and athletics. It led to an explosion of women's sports programs across the country. But now, some argue that those gains are at risk if biological males are allowed into women's competitions without limits. Supporters of transgender inclusion argue these policies are necessary for equality, citing medical treatments and hormone regulations that aim to level the playing field. But critics point out that no amount of hormone suppression can fully erase the physical advantages that come with male puberty, like muscle mass, bone density, and lung capacity. In high-impact sports like swimming, running, or fencing, even a small edge can determine a win. Stephanie Turner's stand is now part of a wider movement pushing back against these policies. Athletes like Riley Gaines in swimming and others across track and field have echoed similar concerns. Their voices are gaining attention, especially when institutions respond with penalties rather than dialogue. This isn't just a sports story. It's about the fundamental question of fairness, the protection of women's categories, and the limits of inclusion policies. It's about who gets to compete and under what terms, and what happens when someone refuses to go along with the new rules.